Hello, you are listening and or watching What's the Tea? My name is Lydia.
And my name's Andy.
Basically, we are two former support workers catching up over, it's normally a cuppa, but the sun is coming out, so we've got Coca-Cola Zero.
Other cola drinks are indeed available, and this is not sponsored by Coca-Cola.
But if Coca-Cola wants to sponsor us, give us a shout. So yeah, we get together, we chat about navigating life, adulthood. We're definitely not experts in that.
Really not.
Constantly WhatsApping each other for advice, constantly.
It's quite embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. But that's reality, you know?
Yeah.
Not everyone's perfect.
Yeah, and some weeks we kind of chat about like one particular kind of deep and meaningful subject. Other weeks we chat about, random unhinged stuff. And I feel that with conversations mostly around movies, TV shows, it's going to be a little bit of that today, but we are also going to be talking about adolescence as well. Yeah, admittedly, it does feel like half the internet is talking about that. But it feels like, considering we were going to be talking about movies and TV shows, it would be a miss of us to not.
Oh, yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect timing. So me and Andy, for anyone that doesn't know, kind of behind the scenes, we've always joked that Andy, I just said this before we started filming, Andy is basically the podcast and I just show up. But actually, I planned this season.
Yeah.
I actually did some work, guys. We always... On this week, in terms of timeline, we were going to do TV, movies, films, whatever recommendations. And it just so happened that both me and Andy watched Adolescence last week. And we were like, oh my goodness, this is perfect timing because of what we're filming on Wednesday. And
so we can't not talk about it.
We can't not talk about it. It'd be silly not to.
But first things first, how are you?
I'm good. I'm actually really good. I'm tired. I'm ready for a holiday, which I am having in a couple of weeks. But so far, so good. I downloaded a new app. So still got Finch. Love Finch. Finch all the love. But I've downloaded this new app called Rise.
Yeah. Is that sleep app?
Yeah. Yeah. So you do have to pay for it. So I managed to get a deal. So I'm only paying it for a couple of months. And then hopefully I'll get into a habit so I don't need to keep paying it. Basically, it calculates what time you should be going to sleep and what time you should be waking up to not get sleep debt.
That's what.
Sleep debt, yeah. Because and I'm getting older. Sad, All right, he's laughing because it's my birthday soon. And so old. And you must be ancient then. Oh, I had to go there. So I'm always tired, regardless of how much I sleep. I did have long COVID. I've come on the other side of long COVID, which is a bit like chronic fatigue, kind of recovered from that, but still just tired all the time, really low energy, mentally and physically. So I've seen a lot about this app, so I tried it. And so far, I'm only on the fourth day, I think it is.
Okay.
And so far, I'm naturally waking up before my alarm. And when it says I should feel groggy, I'm feeling groggy, and when it says I should have energy, I'm feeling like I've got energy. Now, whether that is just a psychological thing, or not, I don't care. It's working.
Okay.
So I'm feeling pretty good because of that. And that was a very long-winded answer to how are you? So I do apologise.
It's good to hear. I mean, I was kind of seeing that, and I've tried other kind of sleep tracker apps like it before, and I was I kind of caught myself being woken up half an hour before I needed to. I was like, don't need this.
Yeah.
I want to stay asleep. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for me, I'm not waking up an hour before my alarm.
Okay.
I'm waking up naturally 10 minutes before my alarm. And then I'm I've got to have a little 10-minute snooze. So for me, apparently, according to my body, I need 10 hours sleep for me not to feel tired, which is a lot because it's 7 to 9 is the average.
Yeah.
But I need 10.
7 to 9.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of the average for an adult. Yeah. I need 10.
So
yeah, and it kind of sends you reminders no more caffeine after this time, need to start stop screen time from now. This is your window of sleeping. It's been really helpful.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
When I get called out in the middle of the night, because I live on site though, that's going to probably throw out the window, but far,
there's exceptions to everything in there.
There is.
I always feel like I should apologise for last week. I'm feeling a lot better than I was.
Andy back, guys. And
going back and editing it, I was like, flipping heck.
It's all right, I got you.
I had you. I was not in a there was like a point halfway through where I kind of coughed, and from that point onwards, it was like my voice was doing this kind of weird thing.
And it was like you were trying to do your own Batman impression.
Yeah. Very, very much so. And it obviously sounded better than what just came out of my mouth. But it was like that throughout the rest of the episode. I'm just listening to it back going, I do not sound.
I don't think you sounded as bad as you did in person.
Mm.
I think that's the trick of editing. But I watching back, obviously I knew you were sick, but compared to the other weeks, I was like, Andy's not himself in this. But it's fine. I had your back. That's what a partnership does. Like,
I am a lot better now.
Could you imagine doing this podcast just on your own?
Well, no. Because I think it would just be boring.
It would be boring, but like anyone that does a podcast on their own and then, you know, like hats off to you, because if I didn't have someone to bounce off.
I think you've got to have a very much an interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah. Well, we think it's interesting. Other people might not.
Thing to talk about, and being able to kind of guide the listener through it, through lots of different uses of your voice as you talk, in order to keep what the listener is hearing interesting as well as the content.
True.
And that requires a lot of work.
But I'm glad you're feeling better and that the Andy is back.
I'm very aware that just in that little snippet, I couldn't not have done that last.
No, you couldn't have done that last week. So it's a good job that this week is the week where it's kind of so me and Andy, we constantly talk about TV, games, movies, TV shows, whatever, because we're always like recommending stuff like, have you seen this? It's amazing. So I'm so glad you're so much better for this.
On that note of recommending stuff.
Yeah.
What's that thing on Amazon? This does have something to do with TV shows and
the one that I talked about.
The laughing one.
The one last laughing.
Yeah, that one. Amazing.
Did you watch it?
Saw part 1 last.
Oh, I watched all the first 4 episodes.
Really funny.
Oh, literally, crying laughter.
Come across what's it called again?
The last one laughing.
Last one laughing is basically you've got 10 comedians in a confined space.
The 6 hours.
6 hours. They're not allowed to laugh or smile.
No.
And so therefore,
but they have to make other people laugh or smile.
And the last one who hasn't laughed or smiled
wins
the incredibly terrible trophy. And so what you've got is a lot of very funny people doing very dry humour and a little bit observational dry humour.
Yeah.
Which is very much my sort of level.
And they're really like top comedians as well. And they're all hilarious. Like I would all watch them like stand up on their own. But I didn't realise, like I'd seen it before, but I didn't make the connection. There's an island version, so this isn't like a new thing. There's an island version with Graham Norton. Yeah, there's an Australian one, and they're with Rebel Wilson. I think she hosts it, and there's a Canadian one as well already. So this is the English version. Jimmy Carr hosts it, but yeah, very good light entertainment if you've had a heavy day at work.
Jimmy Carr, I'm not a massive Jimmy Carr fan, but him on this, I'm like, this guy's really funny.
I know. To be fair, he's very good at presenting, and on TV shows, I think that's where he's funny.
I realised clips of him doing stand-up on TikTok recently. I'm like, I think is that kind of slightly very kind of dry humour.
Yeah, it's very British.
Presenter-esque stuff I've seen recently.
Yeah.
And like this.
Dry sense of humour is very British. You don't really get that in other countries. And I'm saying that not because I'm a comedian. I think we're hilarious. But I'm not a comedian, but I've seen a lot of comedians from other countries compare our sense of humour and say British sense of humour is very dry, very sarcastic, which isn't really anywhere else.
We're sarcastic.
My point. We're always recommending stuff to each other, and we've got a similar taste, so it works.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that we should start talking about Adolescence, because I'm still on the Adolescence high. I've only finished it. I binged it on Friday, all 4 episodes.
It might be a case that we take far too long talking about.
It's just, you can't though. Adolescence is a masterpiece, not just in terms of the topic it talks about, how it's made. The acting is phenomenal, So if anyone doesn't know what Adolescence is, we're not giving any spoilers because it's not a whodunit, it's a why-done-it piece.
But if you're really sensitive about spoilers, stop listening and or watching now. Go watch it. Come back.
But basically, it's about a 13-year-old boy who gets arrested for stabbing a classmate to death.
Yes.
And Stephen, I can't think of his surname, who produces it, acts in it, something like that. Really top actors, won quite a few awards. He produced it, wrote it, and acts in it. And he always said he didn't want it to be a whodunit. He wanted to be a why-done-it. And it's 4 episodes. Each episode's an hour long, and each episode is filmed in one singular shot. So what that means is there's no cutting. So
camera doesn't look away.
Camera does not look away. So you feel that you cannot look away. It's so intense, but it's so brilliant. And that's why I binged 4 hours in one night. I cried from start to finish.
Yeah.
I had mascara down my face. I was wearing glasses because it was in the evening. I had it all over my glasses. I was an absolute wreck. So I would say if you're not in a good, healthy mental space to watch it, I would not watch it straight away, because it is a heavy hitting drama that talks about real world issues, brings a real world issue to light so we can talk about it.
So I'm going to stop the adolescence conversation for 2 seconds. And what you just said about if you're not in a healthy space, that is great advice for almost anything kind of drama, horror, thriller, anything that isn't a comfort show for you. That is really good advice. If you're not in a healthy space to watch it, don't watch it. Or at the very least, if you have to, have a plan for what to do afterwards so you can look after yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
But back to Adolescence.
Oh, so the 13-year-old boy, Jamie, so that's the character's name.
Yeah.
The guy who plays the 13-year-old boy has never done acting before. He did 1 acting class in school. Phenomenal actor for someone that's never done any acting. Episode 3 is the first episode I think they shot.
And it's a masterpiece.
And it is a masterpiece. So basically filming one shot is, I've watched behind the scenes. The camera moves with them and they've got cameramen dotted everywhere. So if you're going up the stairs with them, they lift the camera up and then someone in the landing's picking up the camera. So the first episode takes a while to get used to because it does feel very much like
it's purposely chaotic.
Yeah, it feels chaotic and you're like, which is the purpose of the first episode? But it's just so brilliantly crafted and they've rehearsed a lot for it. So it's not like they just learnt the script and then just filmed it for an hour. They rehearsed it non-stop.
They rehearsed it in like 5-10 minute chunks or something like that.
Yeah.
They rehearsed, like, for example, something like 10 minutes.
Off camera, so there was no camera involved.
And then they added another 5 minutes on top of that. They rehearsed that a lot. They then added another 5 minutes and then so on and so forth until they were comfortable enough with the hour.
Running the hour length. Because it's a lot to be, if you're not used, if you're an actor and I'm saying like I'm an actor. I'm not an actor. But stage work is very different to TV. So stage, you don't get a break in it. You get an intermission, but you have to really build up and rehearse to build up the stamina and and keep going and not, same with singing and not kind of falter and kind of lose that energy. And to do that whilst the camera's following you, it's even harder. So they rehearsed it a lot off camera and then they were like, right, where would we put a camera here? How would this work? So they worked out all the logistics and the work paid off because it's now one of the top streaming Netflix shows.
It is the top thing on TV last week.
It's also top in America as well. And it's now being talked about being shown in schools. So
it's being talked about being
shown in schools. Yeah, so it's not being shown in schools yet because basically it looks at young men's teenage rage, so male rage. It looks at misogyny. It looks at this incel culture, which I'd never heard of until watching this Adolescence. So it talks about issues that young people in the current 13 to kind of 16-year-olds are facing. And it's like, how how do we start talking about this topic? How do we prevent this from happening? What do we need to do as a society? Not as a parent,
That's it.
not as just a school, like all of us together as a society, because it really does take a village to raise a child. So how do we as a village help raise this new generation and not to fall into this trap?
Doesn't look for easy answers, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people talk about it. It's the reason why we're talking about it. It's the reason why a lot of people are asking questions about it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit upset about it as well in that. Or saying that they expect there to be some sort of twist and that
or a happy ending.
Or
the ending man is not happy.
Yeah. Episode 3 is basically a one-shot play.
With just two people.
With just two people, arguably two people, in a room having a conversation about a 13-year-old's view of masculinity and what he did.
Yeah. And it's just, and a lot of that was off script as well. They bounced off one another.
Yeah.
And
some of the best moments were improvised.
Yeah. And like, everyone's like, well, why are we talking about this? And I think it's not a new topic. Like, violence against women and girls is something, you know, we talked about it last episode. I think we've talked about it for a few episodes, you know, last series as well. You know, violence against women and girls is a real issue. But what this is highlighting is a lot of people think it's adulthood, so 18 plus. But what this demonstrates is actually now it's starting as young as 13 and, you know, 12, 13. And actually what should we be doing to prevent it at that age? So then it doesn't become an issue in adulthood, and it doesn't become an issue then, and we haven't got 13-year-olds committing horrific crimes.
And is doing a very good job of of looking at various reasons without actually pointing a finger at one.
Yeah.
As you said, it takes a village to raise a child. It's looking at various parts of that village. So you could argue there was some contributory factors. None of them are at fault in
no, not at all.
Their own.
And I think what's beautiful about it is Stephen and the creators and the writers, they didn't want there to be, you know, it was the parents' fault. Yeah. So it came from a broken home. There was abuse. There was abusive prescriptions or drugs or alcohol. It's a very normal family, nuclear family together, where the parents are really happy and loving, and at the end of it, they're still going like, what did we do wrong? Are we such terrible parents that we created this child that did this? And I think that it's beautifully done, because a lot of the time when young people commit crimes, the first thing is it's the parents' faults. And I think maybe when I was younger, that may have been the case. But now we've got social media, we've got the internet, devices, gaming, whatever it is, and we cannot control all of it. And social media is mentioned in it and is brought into the piece as well beautifully.
Yeah. And I think on that subject, what I thought was particularly lovely about how I set up the 4 episodes, where in the first 2 episodes you had this kind of very kind of mini arc around the lead detective on the case and his son, and you almost see him and his son are very disconnected, throughout the 2 episodes, as good as throughout the 2 episodes. And it's only really at the end, and it kind of gets to the point where he says, I'm not really sure if I'm the best dad for him.
Yeah.
But right at the end of the 2nd episode, he's like, he's just made an arrest, and he's realized actually he's got a bit of time. He doesn't actually need to be there at the police station right now. His son is about to leave the school. He could actually free up a little bit of time. And his son basically agrees that actually he doesn't want to live, but actually he could be hungry to hang out with his dad. Yeah,
no, that was beautiful. It was, because I think as well, it's hard. It's hard. Even though I say it's hard to parent a teenager. I don't have any children, but it is, sometimes feels like I parent some teenagers immoral. And that's just working with Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. But it's hard though, because when you're going, I remember when I was a teenager, I didn't want to hang out with my parents. I wanted to hang out with my friends.
No, but that was the great thing about that little bit of script.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, it was just like,
it's not, don't hang out with me. I'm going to go get some food and a drink. Come with me and do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I also think shows as well that, teenagers don't want to hang out, but that doesn't mean to stop trying.
Yeah.
It's just like still showing up, isn't it, for that thing? And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. And it really impacted me emotionally, and mentally, to the point where I was like, I need to ground myself after this, because it's a heavy hitting drama, and rightly it should be for the topic it's talking about. So it's like, it was really late because I binged it on a Friday night. And I was like, I'm going to start watching behind the scenes stuff and interviews to help ground myself, to say it's a reality, the topic they're talking about, but the show's not real.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of behind the scenes, which is why I know so much about how they made it and things like that. But such a good piece, and totally recommend it to be watched. And I think, listeners at home, if you're a parent of a young, not just boy or girl, I think, it's a great way to start thinking about conversations about how are we going to parent our children with social media.
Yeah, and I think that takes us lovely back to the conversation about connection. In that there was that little conversation in part 4 where there talks about Jamie having a computer in his room, and how the mum would see that he was up late at night on his computer. She'd say, time to go to sleep now. Well, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. If you're 30 and going to school, you should probably be asleep.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my dad part coming out.
Oh, 100%.
And nothing would really happen apart from that. And she was like, was there something there? Should have done more there? And I imagine if you're a parent in that situation, you are probably asking yourself that question throughout. And I can only imagine how heartbreaking question that's
because it's a neat, when I was younger, we didn't have computers. They existed, we just didn't have them because they were really expensive. But my first computer as a family was in the lounge, so my parents could see what I was accessing. And I think that's kind of the conversation, is like everything is on a mobile phone or on a computer, and they're so small now, they can go into your children's bedroom, your teenager's bedroom, and it's like, is that the best place for them to be consuming it? Should it be in a public space? How do we monitor what they're consuming? Because you could be the best parent on the planet and they could be watching some content, being radicalized or being brought into a world that's not healthy, and undo all of that. So it's like, how do we parent young people around technology to keep them safe?
I think this takes us really nicely back to what we first started talking about in regards to the content that we're taking in.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's not just about kids and the content that kids are bringing. It's about ourselves as well.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it's quite easy to kind of pick on names of people that we do not agree with in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
But actually, these people, I'm going to watch their live streams, I'm going to watch them game, I'm going to listen to their podcasts. Where are they getting their content from? What are they saying to you? How are they influenced? And how are they influencing you?
Yeah. And I think this is the thing, like listening to the creators as well, they're of a generation where they didn't have technology either. And they were saying, like, when we were watching stuff on TV, they had one TV in the lounge. I'm not saying get rid of all your technology at all, but they said they had one TV in the lounge and they'd watch a TV show together and they'd have discussions about it. And I think that's where I'm really, I feel very blessed with my upbringing, that, we would have the news on as a family, we'd watch it together, we'd watch TV shows. If I had questions, I'd ask my parents, they'd answer them. And we had discussions around what we watched. And I think it's, that's kind of, I think, what we need to be doing is having conversations with young people around what they're watching and being like, well, what did, you know, if they're watching Adolescence, for example, well, what did you think about it? You know, is this happening to you? Are you getting bullied online? Like, how are you managing this? Like, what's your security settings like? What are you consuming? What do you think about this? So then you're building up healthy conversations. So they're not just consuming one side of something, they're hearing it, you know. So yeah, Adolescence, totally recommends. Beautiful piece. Could talk about it so much more. But this was not an episode just purely about Adolescence.
I think we should probably just throw out a few recommendations.
Yeah.
Why we like them.
Yeah.
And then move on to weird news with our hats.
So I want to do my next recommendation, which is top one on your list, because I've watched both seasons. You've only watched one season.
The first season.
Is Arcane, League of Legends. Now, I think I've played League of Legends because they've got a League of Legends app, haven't they, game? So I've played that. So I watched it and I was like, oh, it's a game that they've made into a TV series. Not sure how I feel about this. Oh my goodness. I blubbed.
It's such an emotion, and I've only seen the series one so far. Such an emotional show.
Such an emotional show.
I was a bit confused between around the time jumps.
Same. Yeah, so was I. But you get used to it.
Thrown by.
Yeah, but I think I was surprised that I could be moved by something that's an animation. And how it's made. I think it's beautiful to watch. I think the voiceovers and the acting from voiceovers, because I think with acting, I say this again, I'm not an actor, but if it's you put your whole body into it to make that emotion come through. But when you're a voice actor, you're just relying on your voice. And
yes, but I guess the best voice actors do kind of relive the moment.
Oh, I know, but it was just like literally, I was crying with the main character, and I'm like, it's an animation. But lots of positive feedback online about it, saying it was one of the best kind of game TV series that was made, you know, that was made from a game.
Also, some magnificent stuff in there on series one about grief.
Yeah,
how we handle grief, dealing with grief, emotions, definitely some mental health stuff.
Yeah,
in there.
Class divide as well.
Yes. Yeah. So there's lots of very kind of good stuff to kind of, if you're watching it yourself, it is very kind of a good thing to kind of watch to help you kind of process those things. Parenthood is another one in there.
Yeah.
Great line at the end, in the last episode of series one. Very much about that. So yeah, if you are dealing with those sorts of things, it's a great thing to watch to help you kind of process that yourself.
Yeah.
Or if you're looking for something to watch with someone and to help kind of discuss those issues, why not?
Yeah, no, it was so good. And I was like watching something to watch on my lunch break, and I was like, oh, I'll watch this because if it's, you know, no good, it's just half an hour of my time, whatever. And I got sucked into it and binged it. Yeah, I have an addictive personality, so as soon as I see something I like, I binge it. As you can probably get from this, but
I tried watching Arcane.
Yeah.
When I was like, it's like during the evening.
Yeah, but I've really got into kind of the animation thing. So I've got into Castlevania. I got into, what's it called? What was it called? Where he becomes a dragon. I'm gonna have to Google it. I'm also watching Dragon Prince as well. I'm on series 6. So it's my new.
It's your new thing.
It's my new thing. And I'm loving it.
I'm going to
Dota.
Don't know it.
Dragon's Blood. That is so good.
Don't know it.
Yeah, that was a good series as well.
On Netflix.
On Netflix, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm really into that at the moment, which I've never really been into it. I think I watched Dota first, and that got me into the new world, and then Castlevania, and then it was Arcane.
You mean to watch Castlevania?
It's very bloody. Very bloody. But they've done a Castlevania spin-off, and I don't think it's as good as the OG. But yeah. What are you watching? Obviously, you've watched Adolescence, but what is
talk about Daredevil Born Again?
Okay, I haven't watched it. I haven't watched Daredevil, I think, halfway through season 1.
I never really watched it on Netflix.
Okay.
So I'm kind of moving into Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus, quite blind a little bit to the previous seasons.
Is it carrying on from the previous seasons? Okay. It's not like a new universe where it's completely... okay.
It carries it on. There was lots of conversation at one point over if it would be a completely kind of fresh start. It's not.
Okay. Which I guess makes sense because there is a lot of Daredevil fans out there from the Netflix series.
And there's a lot of conversation about what's better and what's changed. And I'm like, yeah. Personally recommend. Also... So yesterday when we talked about this, I can't believe I forgot to mention it. Been binging The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
See, I've watched...
No, you're not a fan.
I'm not a fan. I've watched all of them, and I think that it's just not... I don't know what it is. I think it's because around the time Lord of the Rings, it was Harry Potter as well.
Yeah.
Around the similar time, and I really fell into love with the world of Harry Potter. Lord of the Rings, I think at the age I was, it was just too dark for me to get into. But I can appreciate the storytelling, the world. I'm just personally not a fan.
I've tried to watch The Hobbit twice before now.
Okay.
And I couldn't get past the first one because I just thought it was a bit dull.
Yeah.
So I was like, just felt like an effort to watch. Second two movies, a lot better.
Okay.
If you're a purist about the book, please don't come at me. I know, I get it, I understand. There are many differences.
Also, if we're going to talk about TV shows or film, I need to talk about rom-coms and romance. Because we just had, so when we were doing sound check, we just had a colleague come in and we were talking about, because I was singing the song I've got stuck in my head from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Classic rom-com. So you got some really good rom-coms, so How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, She's the Man, 10 Things I Hate About You, A Knight's Tale, which 10 Things I Hate About You and The Knight's Tale has got the amazing, legendary Heath Ledger in.
I mean, 10 Things I Hate About You is a classic.
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay.
And Clueless, which
Again.
is a little bit weird because she falls in love with her brother who's not her brother, but it's still a good film.
Yeah.
That is like her a stepbrother.
Still a bit.
Yeah. Still a bit weird. And also...
Do you want it? We can blame Shakespeare for that one.
Yeah, it is. I think it's based on
No,
she was saying. No, She's the Man's based on Shakespeare.
No, I think Clueless is based on something.
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of our rom-coms come from Shakespeare because Shakespeare is the king at romance and other weird stuff. And Pride and Prejudice, I've got to mention Pride and Prejudice, Keira Knightley version. Love it. It's my comfort movie. When I'm feeling a bit down, I put it on. It just makes me all feel cozy and warm inside.
Clueless is based on Jane Austen's Emma.
Oh, Emma. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, it was based on an old author. I've read, I think, about 20 books this year so far. I have a reading challenge of reading. The aim is to read 40 books this year, so I'm on task.
I've looked at 20 books. Yeah.
But it's not like I'm reading, real deep theological books, but I read a lot of I've got into fantasy at the moment, reading a lot about fantasy romance, which is really a new world that I'm exploring. And what I would say is this past year, as in halfway through 2024, coming into 2025, I've really explored the genre, my genres in terms of I would only stick with the ones that I knew. Yeah. But I've expanded my TV into terms of animation and anime, and my books now, I've moved from just rom-coms into fantasy romance. And it's like a whole magical world, which I'm loving. So yeah, I just couldn't not mention rom-coms because I'm a rom-com girl at heart. Just quickly, games. What game are you obsessed at the moment?
Oh
my
days, you've thrown that at me.
I am. What
game am I obsessed with at the moment? There was some... the reason why I'm stuck is that there's one game that I kept trying to load up just the other day. I'm trying to work out what it was. I've been playing a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn recently. I've been getting back into that, mostly because of the new edition that came out towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
And picked up for relatively cheap because of one. Neither is also awesome game.
Neither.
So spell NEVA, I think it is basically
Or never.
No,
It's neither.
never. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's a very arty exploration on a kind of grief and
Oh, you've talked about it before, yeah.
basically moving on a little bit. Yeah, really doing it a disservice right now. There's also stuff about having a pet and looking after your pet dog and things, and people never quite leaving you either. Just not
Okay.
not moving into spoiler territory too much.
Okay. I'm obsessed. So I have a really it's not great and addictive personality. So this is why I don't have a game console like a PS5 or an Xbox or whatever, because I think I'd be stuck in all day. But I do have
playing Lord Jealous Survivor. Just sorry, you can open the
floodgates.
The gates. I'm like, okay. Sorry, go on.
So I don't have a game console like that because I'd be addicted too easily. But I do have a Switch. And I am obsessed with Hogwarts Legacy.
Fair.
As I said, I'm a Hogwarts fan. Hogwarts Legacy, just brilliant. I'm like, I've been playing it, like, some days I play it for like 6 hours. I'm only 50% through the whole game because there's so many side quests as well as the main quests. And it could have its own TV series. It's that good.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm addicted to at the moment.
One last thing. This game it's called Everyone's.
Oh, I've opened the floodgates, guys.
Everybody's gone to the Rapture.
Okay.
It's quite old-ish now, but it's basically a walking simulator where you walk around a village that's been abandoned, kind of set in 1980s-ish, I think it is.
So is it like apocalyptic kind of interior, like
apocalyptic?
Yeah, okay.
It's been abandoned. There's no signs of violence. It's just no one's there. But you're kind of seeing these kind of weird little like light beams appearing every now and then that kind of both guide you to where you need to go next.
Ooh,
and also kind of show you kind of flashbacks to something that had happened there previously, kind of like between different people in that little town that has been abandoned.
Sounds good.
So there's a bit of a mystery going on there. Lots to talk about, kind of ranging from relationships to faith to death, all that sort of stuff.
I know I am a novice when it comes to gaming because I try and stay away from gaming. Hence my Hogwarts Legacy thing that I'm obsessed with. Because when I tell some of my young people, they roll their eyes. They're like, it's not really a game.
What, Hogwarts Legacy?
Yeah, some people roll their eyes, but I don't think they're Harry Potter fans.
Oh, it is a game.
So to summarize, there's some great stuff out there. Talk about great themes.
Everything in balance.
We talked about some hard, heavy hitting dramas, but then if you want something lighter, we've got some rom-coms, some fantasy. And then we talked about some games. I talked about a bit about books. I think that's everything that we wanted to talk about when it came to TV, book, and game recommendations.
And now it's time
for our favourite segment.
Weird news.
Weird news.
There are rumours of a weird news jingle.
Yes, I need to speak to these two ladies when I go back to the office because they said they would, and she made a jingle for me off the cuff based on the theme song Bob the Builder, and I was like, oh, we need a jingle for the podcast. So they said they'd work.
So maybe for the next series we might have
an actual jingle.
We might have actual segments.
Yeah, we took the plunge and answer one.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, you go first. I think I went first last time.
So, Belgians are furious after centuries-old custom of drinking live fish is banned.
So what?
So,
how do you drink a live fish?
Have you ever, just had the want to drink a goblet of wine?
All the time.
Okay. So, for over 600 years, a town in Belgium has celebrated the arrival of spring by hosting the Krakilgen Festival, an annual celebration involving costumed parades, ancient rituals, and a series of according to the Metro, bizarre local traditions.
Like drinking live fish. I still don't understand how they can drink live fish.
But before they commence, they drink wine from a goblet containing live fish swimming around, which has now been banned by the government under new animal welfare law.
I'm assuming they're like small fish because like you're trying to swallow goldfish.
I presume
You're gonna choke.
Small?
That is disgusting. Like, I like fish, but I like it cooked. And dead. That's what
they're kind of. They're kind of small. I want to say on the right hand side. It's great content.
Oh, I don't know what I just did, but I clicked. Oh gosh, it's really zoomed into a guy's lips. I can't see the lip.
I'm not sure what to do with that live on camera. I think that could be a fish.
Oh, it's the like little
Okay, so welcome to the Lydia is going to have emotional issues.
Yeah,
But
like
if you are listening to this, it's probably not a good one to be watching. You're just about to lose control of her.
So you know when you go into the as I said, the fish and chip shop, not in the fish and chip shop because they're dead. You know when you go into a pet store. You know when you go to a pet shop, when you go to the fish section,
yes,
and you have goldfish,
yes,
and then you've got those little tiny ones that I can't remember what they're called. They're cold water.
Yes,
and that's what they're drinking. Do they actually drink the fish, or do they just drink the wine that they're in? Because I don't understand with how his lips are perched, how that fish is going to go in. That's just wrong on so many levels. I'm so glad it's banned. And I know it's like, it's a tradition, it's a culture thing, but not for me. Not for me at all. That would be a cultural thing that I would skip out on if I was visiting. Like, I like sushi, but at least it's dead. And I ain't going to get some sort of illness.
So, next up on Weird News.
I'm really sorry. I didn't know he was going to present that one. That is...
You saw the links.
Yeah, I just saw the word fish and I just skipped over it. So...
Maybe you shouldn't have.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should actually prepare for this podcast.
Or at least read the prep.
Read the prep. Hey, I prepared for this actually a little bit. So this is from the Metro as well. Metro, gotta love the Metro. It does have the weird and wonderful in it. So the heading is, student so scared of DIY, he paid tradesmen £180 to change the batteries. So Sam told Metro he does not want to speak to anyone on the phone. He also lacks the confidence to negotiate, even though he studies law part-time. Sounds like he's going to be a great lawyer. He said, there are skills that have just lost throughout the years, and it's not just me. The anxiety forced the 22-year-old to turn to an app for help, even just like swapping out some batteries out of, I think it was a smoke detector. So he paid someone £180 to change some batteries.
Let's be nice.
No. I'm like, it's a student. Like, if this was a 40-year-old man, I'd be a bit more concerned.
Even then, I mean, there are...
No, I'm sorry. A 40-year-old man should be able to change some batteries. I'm sorry. Unless, obviously, there is a physical reason as to why he can't.
And that could be a reason. It could be a mental reason that actually this is something I don't know how to do. Something scared me about doing it.
Yeah, no, I get you're being very nice. I get that. I do. And I'm not a DIY girl, okay? Tried to put a shelf up myself, fell down about a day later. I had to get my dad to come in. But I'd change, like, I've, when I moved into my own place, even a house share, I'd never changed a bulb before because growing up, living with your parents, my parents did it. But I just I know, like, obviously some people have a bit more resilience, some a bit more confidence. But it is just changing batteries. It's not like he's having to cut some wood with a saw. It is just taking a smoke detector out and putting batteries in it.
You've been told now that with electronics.
I know, but it's 180 quid. Batteries cost like £2.
It also shows how nervous he is about it.
No, it does. He does. But I just think he's a student. Bless him, Sam. Like, he's a student. Not great at budgeting, clearly, if he's spending £180 for someone to change his batteries. Surely he could have got a mate to do it.
There is a question over why. That is a lot of money. That I will grant you.
Someone's ripped him off.
There is, I mean...
Someone saw him coming.
The nice version of this story
No,
It is.
I think it,
He posts on an app, and someone goes, "Oh, mate,
I'll help you.
I'll help you out.
180 quid later.
Just give us a tenner. Just give us a tenner to cover 5 minutes.
But they didn't.
Time."
He paid £180.
Yeah, but that's the reason why I said that's the nice version.
Oh, yeah, no. And I think it does highlight an issue, I think, that young people, I think they're called Gen Z? Gen Z? Then, as a millennial.
It could be a confidence. Yeah, this could be very classic millennial kind of beating down on young people.
Well, oh, hang on a minute. I'm not beating down on a young person at all. Hang on. I just want to put that out there, Andy. I'm just saying, like, I'm shocked that this is a thing and this is happening because I feel bad for Sam because he's been ripped off.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that someone actually came along and went, all right then, fine, classic call-out fees for you, mate. Yeah, sure, whatever. Job done.
Yeah.
Easy money.
But surely he had some friends that could have done it for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think it highlights an issue in terms of a lot of our young people aren't equipped with mundane day-to-day tasks. But also there is, like, I remember my younger sister, and she still has it now. She's very nervous and anxious. And she's got a full, like, she's left uni, full adult, we're an adult uni, but you know what I mean, in the real world. And she still struggles to sometimes ring up and speak on the phone. And if I'm around, she'll be like, if it's something that we're both doing, she'll be like, could you ring up? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, fine. And there's a real anxiety of that. So I get that when he says he's got anxiety of ringing people up. I
wonder if actually that is more of a point of all of this, that a lot of us have struggles kind of dealing with kind of what the world is either expecting of us or throwing at us. And sometimes the next thing that comes along is that little bit too much for us to really kind of process and get our heads around. And so therefore we might just take the easier.
Yeah, and I just think as well, like, this poor generation coming up, like, for them to be so anxious about ringing someone up, I'm like, we need to be doing something about this, because no one should have to live like that at all. And Sam, I'm sorry I was just so hard at the beginning for watching this. Hats off to you for reaching out for help. However, I'm so sorry you got ripped off.
Yeah.
And someone took advantage of that. Because £180 just to change the batteries is a rip-off.
I think reaching out for help for something like that.
Well done. Well done, mate.
So whatsoever.
Hat off to you.
Gonna charge you 185 quid.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think... Yeah. And I think everything you said about actually we all have... Yeah. This is another example of that happening, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've talked about some heavy stuff today. Like, good important stuff.
The banner of TV shows.
How did we do that? How did we suck the entertainment out of that? And I'm joking.
We are. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you for listening and watching to What's for Tea. Please don't forget to subscribe to us on your favourite podcast provider or find us on the YMC Exeter YouTube channel.
Also, I'd really love to hear recommendations as to why expand mine and Andy's TV, film, book, gaming knowledge.
Recommendations. Send us tips on DIY. Send us
ways that we can improve the podcast. Anything.
Send us stories of things that you struggled to do and you found like a unusual solution to it.
Hopefully you didn't have to pay £180 for it though. I'm still stuck on that. Anyway,
that's the longest goodbye ever.
Yeah. Bye guys. Appreciate you.